Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, wherever you tune in today. This is Concerned Citizen of South Sudan going live. It is July 18, 2023. With very important topic tonight, we'll be discussing public awareness, public consultation on the issue of dredging and the end period of transition government. So tonight, we have a lot of issues we want to discuss together. But before we start our discussion, let me go ahead and play one of the very, very important songs that resonated with the people of South Sudan in this very important period. Then we should start our program.
We can all let it man, Printy Wajal, Kadapuri, like Kapanui, Kalam the money out. What there will buy, you can lawyer and wake up, Chagam, Kalam the money out. We can all let it man, what there will buy, you can lawyer and wake up, Chagam, Chagam, it is all in this wall, job, you know, Sudan, Kilimazamani, Yahoo, who are an angel, Yalka, Carbino, Quine, William Yuan Bank. We can all let it man, Printy Wajal, the dog for a week, like you. Now wake up, Yakam Bunyai, Yakam Bunyai, now wake up, Barkadan. Now wake up, Bernal. Now wake up, what do you? Well, I find a kill my own soon in the bay in what? From where they jam with, why you pay the Pioca, you have been Sudan. You are you conquered. Rimpi Wajal, Kadab, put a wing. Like prepare you know, I love my kill my own soon in the bay in what? From where they jam with, why you pay the Pioca, you can't get Sudan. You are you conquered. Rimpi Wajal, Kadab, put a wing. Like prepare you now wake up, Chagam, and you can't. We can all let it man, Printy Wajal, Kadapuri, like Kapanui, Kalam the money out. What there will buy, you can a lawyer and wake up, Chagam, Kalam the money out. We can all let it man, what there will buy, you can a lawyer and wake up, Chagam, Chagam, this all, that you know, in this all, job, you know, Sudan, Kilimazamani, Yahoo, who are an angel, Yalka, Carbino, Quine, William Yuan Bank. We can all let it man, Printy Wajal, the dog for a week, like you. Now wake up, Yakam Bunyai, Yakam Bunyai, now wake up, Barkadan. Now wake up, Bernal. Why you pay the few guy you can't get Sudan? You are you conquer. Green you are young, Kadab Kurani. Life to baby you. I love my not care my own. Soon in the bay in it what? From where they travel. Why you pay the few guy you can't get Sudan? You are you conquer. Green you are young, Kadab Kurani. Life to baby you. Now when God come tonight, you can't win.
Dear viewers of Concerned Citizens of South Sudan, you have all been following the developments happening in the country, and if we critically look at the general security situation in the country, we will definitely see that insecurity is widespread all over the country. You have all seen the recent killing of civilians by the armed cattle herders in Magui in eastern Equatoria State. In addition to other massacres in Mageri and Nangalala, including the recent killing of Madi Chief John Ebale in Numili town, which sparked demonstration in the town of Numili. Meanwhile, the feud and state of animosity between the community of Ngok Dinka and Twij Mayadi Dinka communities. There have been cattle raiding that targeted the Ruweng administrative area, where 11 people were killed by the cattle raiders last month, believed to be from the neighboring state of Unity. In another development, a young man by the name of Chair Ajo, a hacker mobile seller, was gunned down last weekend at Kubri Haboba Market in Juba by the authorities of Juba City Council, an action which angered civilians, leading them to condemn it in all the strongest terms possible and called for justice on social media, which will never be administered by the government. This situation of insecurity will continue because the government we have in place does not care about the welfare of civilians, their safety, and their security. You have also been following the issues of dredging and the level of public awareness which was reached in a very short span of time, and the last week outcome of public consultation in which our people rejected the dredging. All these pressures forced President Salva Kiir to stop all the planned dredging activities until feasibility studies are carried out and the environmental impact are properly assessed. We should be cautious with this decision taken by President, because it could be a reverse at any time, as the government of Egypt will exercise pressure on the leaders who are apparently involved in the scandals of signing secret deals with the government of Arab Republic of Egypt on Nile water without consulting the people of South Sudan in the first place. This is obviously shooting first and aiming at last policy being exercised by the government in Juba. We congratulate you, the great citizen of our country, for your bold and stand to reject this project, which doesn't serve national interests, but foreign interests in our land. This is a clear betrayal and treason against you, the people of South Sudan. We praise all the experts for standing their ground tall on these matters. Above all, the transitional period for the current revitalized transitional government of national unity is ending in February 2023. The revitalized peace agreement is not being implemented for the lack of political will by the parties. The agreement, the US administration has stopped its financial support for the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement deal last week for the lack of political will by the parties to the agreement, namely the SPLM-IG and the SPLM-IO. My dear brothers and sisters and the viewers of Concerned Citizen of South Sudan, tonight we will discuss in this episode all these issues and others. And please, with that, stay tuned and subscribe to our channel on the YouTube, because always we are tuned in on the Facebook at the same time we are tuned in on the YouTube. And the name of the channel is Jonkor Mayor. Again, please go ahead and subscribe to our channel on the YouTube. And the name is Jonkor Mayor. And kindly, I want you to do one more thing. Please share this important live broadcast and spread it all over the social media. Thank you so much. And with this, I will have my guests here in a very short time. I will have our great writer and journalist and the chairman of United Citizens for Change, Al-Ustaz Dengdit Ayok, will join us by Clubhouse. We also will be joined by economists. Ustaz Moses Edward Maker will join us from Melbourne, Australia. With that, I would like to invite all of you to go ahead and share this live episode as we are waiting for our guests here to tune in. Go ahead, please, share this live episode. As you can see here on the screen, the topic of tonight, public awareness, consultation on dredging, the end of transitional period. Also in Arabic, we put it here. It looked like we have an error there. We'll fix it later. التوعية والمشاورات العامة حول عمليات التجريف ونهاية الفترة الانتقالية. Please go ahead. ندعوكم لمشاركة فعالة لأن بلادنا في هذه المرحلة تمر مرحلة حرجة جدا جدا. I want you to go ahead and share it as we continue. I have so much and more questions here to my guests. I think Ustaz Moses, it seems like he's not online right now, but we will go ahead and add him. Soon he appear here. Meanwhile, Ustaz Dengdit, if you are there by Clubhouse, would you please go ahead and pin me down so I can bring you to start this very, very, very important discussion tonight. And thank you for being patient always. I must say this. I'm sorry. We have been away for quite some time. As I put notice last week that actually I'm moving to a new residency. And here we are today. All the steps are done. And we are back. And we are back for our country. And عدنا والوطن وأحلام الوطن في أحزاننا عدنا، وأحلام الوطن وأحزان الوطن في قلوبنا وفي كل أفكارنا وفي كل خطوات اللي احنا بنخطو في الحياة. أهلا بكم مجددا مشاهدي كونسيرن سيتيزن اوف ساوث السودان، حينما كنتم في هذه البرنامج الخاصة اليوم اللي احنا بنتناول فيها موضوع التوعية والمشاورات العامة حول عمليات التجريف ونهاية الفترة الانتقالية. والمعروف انتوا سمعتوا الحكومة دي احنا قبل كده تكلمنا كتير ومرات وقلنا يا اخي سلام خرطوم الوقعت في سبتمبر 2018 سبتمبر 12 2018 ما ينفذ كما تنبأنا. قلنا يا اخي سوف لن يتم تنفيذ لانها وقع هذا السلام من منطلق التكتيك وليس من منطلق التنفيذ، وليس من اجل المواطن، وليس من اجل البلد، وليس من اجل انغاث البلد. تنبأنا بهذا الموضوع ونحن اليوم نتحدث بهذا الموضوع، وفعلا ما قلناه كان صحيحا. فهو السلام لا ينفذ، ليس هنالك تنفيذ لعملية سلمية. وكما تعلمون نهاية الفترة الانتقالية على الأبواب. سوف يكون شهر فبراير لعام القادم عام 2023 هي نهاية الفترة الانتقالية لسلام الخرطوم الذي لم يتم تنفيذها.
Hello everybody.
Yeah, سامعينك أستاذ دنجيد.
I hope you can hear me, guys.
Yes.
That's amazing. See.
أنا سامعينك أستاذ دنجيد.
My brother John Corey, you have joined me.
Yes.
Thank you for coming. I hope you can hear me now.
I hear you very well. Very well.
John Corey, could you please speak if you can hear me?
Yes, I hear you very well, Ustaz Dengdit.
Okay, that's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think we'll continue. You can go ahead because I couldn't catch up with you right from the beginning.
Yeah, I apologize. With that زي ما أنا ذكرت لكم هيكون ضيوف معي في هذا اللقاء الخاص. البرنامج المهم اليوم هو برنامج Concerned Citizen of South Sudan، وزي ما انتم شايفين في الشاشة الموضوع اللي احنا بنناقشه اليوم public awareness consultation on the dredging and the end of the transition period of the government of national unity in South Sudan. التوعية والمشاورات العامة حول عمليات التجريف ونهاية الفترة الانتقالية. الضيوف هيكون أستاذ والكاتب الكبير وشيرمان رئيس بالنسبة لحركة المواطنون المتحدون الأستاذ دينجديد أيوك، وأيضا economist أستاذ موسيس أدوارد مكير will join me by the live Facebook here in the studio. So please stay tuned. And أستاذ دينجديد أيوك لعلك جاهز لنبدأ النقاش، لأنه أنا شايف أستاذ موسيس أدوارد هو غير جاهز، هو ما موجود أونلاين، لذلك أنا أدعوك أن نبدأ هذا الحوار. داير أديك فرصة. I want to give you an opportunity to greet our viewers, the viewers of Concerned Citizen of South Sudan who are watching here tonight. And also I would like to invite our brothers and sisters who are watching tonight to go ahead and share this live episode. It is so important. We are going to discuss very, very, very important issues our country is in the brink and need to be rescued. And we need to bring to your attention what we have been talking for quite some time, years and years. We have been doing this advocacy, and we have been telling you about this government, how they have been deceiving people of South Sudan for very, very, very long time. And we are proving over and over and over again. And this is it. We have said this for a very long time, that the peace agreement that was signed in Khartoum, September 12, 2018, it was not meant to be implemented, and they are not going to implement it. And we were right. This is the same government that used the same tactic, to pull people of South Sudan for a very long time. So if you are ready, please, I want to give you an opportunity to greet our viewers, and we move on from here. Are you there?
Yes.
I am, and I hope I am loud and clear over there.
You are loud and clear. We can hear
mute
you.
Yourselves.
Yes.
You can mute yourself so that there is no echo.
Correct. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brother Jun, for welcoming me. I greet you in the studio, and I greet all the viewers of Concerned Citizens of South Sudan tonight, and we thank and appreciate them for turning out to follow the issues that we are discussing tonight. I would like also to appreciate my brothers and sisters who also join me here on Clubhouse, so that they can also listen to what we would like to say tonight or this morning and this afternoon, according to our different time zones around the globe. We would like to apologize also to our viewers, our audience, because we have been away for some times, which I believe is always important, because sometimes you have to be away for a while in order to give a chance for what you have been saying, so that people can digest it and see whether it was true or not. And so we have been vocal on social media, talking about so many issues of national concern in the country.
Yes. Go ahead, Ustaz Dengit. I hope your network is okay.
Agreements were signed on these waters since November 2014. And today it has become a reality, and we are finally joined by all the people of South Sudan on this topic. And as we speak here, the issue of dredging and the possible excavation of Jonglei Canal is a topic of concern for all the people of South Sudan. And so this is one of the things which we always do, that we remain vocal for a certain period of time, and then later on we have to leave people alone in order to digest and to meditate on what we have been telling them. And so we are finally proven true, and all what we have been saying is something we say based on the information, the accurate information that we have. And so today, the people of South Sudan have risen up and they have said their word on this. However, I don't want to go into the details because we shall come into it one by one, and we will have a lot to say concerning this. So thank you very much, Brother Jonkur, for welcoming me. And I hope my voice is loud and clear at your end, and the viewers on the live video are getting what I'm saying. So thank you, and back to you.
Thank you, Stas Dengit Ayok, for that greeting and introduction to our viewers. I believe the viewers are hearing you loud and clear here on the studio. Stas Dengit Ayok, one more time, I really appreciate you for coming on tonight for this very, very important topic episode, to talk to our people and enlightening them what have been happening for quite some time. But I might ask you this question, Ustaz Dengit Ayok, after all this. Ustaz Dengit, how do you comment on the persistence of insecurity all over the country? This is it is very important to start with this question, please.
Well, it is always very important for us to come here and discuss issues of national concern and the current situation in the country. You may mute yourself because there is an echo. So it is good for us to come and talk about these issues. Now, your question is about the insecurity, the rampant insecurity all over the country. And for those of us who have been following the situation very closely in the Republic of South Sudan, the security situation is always alarming. And if I may go into the details one by one, you will all see what is happening. Let us start in Eastern Equatoria State, for example. Eastern Equatoria State has repeatedly witnessed murders, attacks on people, and there have been numerous murders, civilians, armed civilian attacking other civilians, killing them. And when you follow the news, you find that these are armed cattle herders attacking members of the local community in Eastern Equatoria and killing people. The other time when you read in the news, you find that it is some cattle raiders from Greater Pipur administrative area traveling all along from Jebel Buma, going to places in East Equatoria, places like Mugali, places like Melijo, places like Ngangala, places like Magri, and many other places. And so these are the issues of insecurity. You can put this one aside as number one. If you go to Central Equatoria also, you find the same things. You find problems between cattle herders and members of the local community clashing, and there are always people who are killed whenever there are clashes or whenever there are. You hear people talking about armed cattle herders attacking civilians, and people most of the time talk about this in a very emotional way. So this is the nature of insecurity which is prevailing in areas like Eastern Equatoria State, in areas like Central Equatoria State. Earlier on in the month of March, there were attacks in areas like Panyakwara, Agoro, Kubi, and other areas, and we have been seeing all this. Last week, we have witnessed also the killing of the sheep, John Ibella, in Numili town, and this is sparked demonstrations by the civilian in the town, and they burned the tires as an expression that they were dissatisfied with the killings of the sheep and that they were not happy.
Yes.
And of course, they have got a right to do that one. And then the authorities rush in to calm down the situation. The governor of Eastern Equatoria State, General Louis Lobong, pitched his town. He moved away from Turid and he pitched his town in Numili town in order to calm down and ease the security. It was said that he is moving away from Turid and pitching his tent in Nimili was to bring back the security or to restore the security in the area. But I don't believe that the security was restored. This is number one. Okay, let me say this is number two. If you move to Warabi State, there are issues of insecurity also. Everybody is aware that since the end of last month, there have been clashes between the SSPDF and the civilian in Tony. And as a result, a big number of officers within the SSPDF were killed. And on the civilian side, also a big number of civilians were killed. And as we speak now, there is still a high tensions in the area. You can put this as number three. If we move ahead to Warab, you have an issue of the two communities, the communities of the Mog Dinka and the community of Twig Mayardi Dinka. They have already a feud which is in place. And a committee was formed by the president and the investigation came up with a report, and many people were not happy with the report. And as we speak now, the situation is not stable. There is a feud still going on, there is animosity, there is hate speech by members of the two communities is still being expressed here on social media, especially here on Clubhouse. So this is part of the insecurity. If we move a little further to Ruang administrative area, there are issues of insecurity between Ruang administrative area and the neighboring Unity State. In the last 3 weeks, or let me say 4 weeks, armed cattle raiders believed to be from Unity State attacked the Ruang administrative area and 11 people were killed. So you can see that insecurity is rampant all over the country, and people are dying on the daily basis in our country. Now, the question is the government of South Sudan able to contain the situation and restore security? My answer to this question has always been no, because since 2005 until now, the government of South Sudan have never contained a security situation in a permanent manner that the civilians do not go back to attacking each other again and killing themselves. We have some example in which the government succeeded in restoring the security, but the security can be relatively restored and continue for a certain period of time, and later on things may get out of control. One of the example of this is the example of Lake States. Since the appointment of Jennifer Rindweng Mabor as the governor of Lake State, we have seen the effort he has made in order to restore security in Lake State. And as we are speaking here, our people are able to sleep peacefully in Rumbek and all the areas of Lake State. So this is one example that is successful by the government to restore peace and security. But Rindweng Mabor has succeeded, but you just wait. Once he is removed and another government is installed, then insecurity would come back and people would still die. Alem was appointed to be the governor of Warabi State in order to restore peace and stability in Warabi State. But during his time, many people died in Toin. People died since the time when Kirbino Wolagog was killed. Then the government went on to wage war, a systematic war against the civilian in the area, and many people were killed in the area. And insecurity has been a repeated phenomenon in Warabi State until this time. So when we say that the government of the Republic of South Sudan, since it was a regional government until we became a republic, has dramatically failed to contain and restore the security in the country, because the whole country is bleeding. If you go to Jonglei State, there are cases of insecurity between the three communities of Jonglei State. You have the Morley community, you have the Longwer community, and then you have the Bordinka community. They have these issues, and although these issues may be out of sight for a while, it doesn't mean that the security is restored in the region. Insecurity could come in at any time. So these are the issues of insecurity in South Sudan. And so what the people of South Sudan should understand and should know is that the government we have in place is not a government that care about the welfare. It's not a government that care about the safety and security and stability of the people of South Sudan. The government only care about one thing, that is remaining in power for many years to come. That's what they care most about, but they don't care about the civilians, their safety, and their security. So this is our message to the people of South Sudan, and it must be very clear. You have mentioned in your question or in your introduction earlier that last weekend a young man by the name Sher Ajo, who was a hard worker in the market or a mobile seller, was gunned down by the authorities of Juba City Council at Kubri Haboba Market. This happens in Juba. So Juba is not even safe. People can be shot by the authorities. People can be shot by the unknown gunmen. People can die within Juba. Sometimes some people disappear for good within Juba. And so you can see that insecurity is rampant all over the country, even under the seats of the government of the Republic of South Sudan in the capital city. People can still disappear. People can still be killed in their houses, and the government would do nothing to save their life. So these are the examples. You have the issue of tweet and mob. This is a very easy problem that can be contained by the government, and for which the government should find a lasting solution to. But the government is part, or the government is partner in the crimes against our people. And so the people of South Sudan need to understand this point, that this insecurity would continue to be rampant as long as Salva Kiir and members of his cabinet are still in power. And this has been a phenomenon since 2005 until 2022. And it will continue if they are not removed from power. So this is my comment on the issue of insecurity in South Sudan. So nobody should expect that these things, these clashes, these attacks, these armed cattle raiders, nobody is going to stop them. The situation is going to continue like this. However, there is a question that we need to ask. How long shall we watch our country bleeding and dying under our watch like that without us doing something to stop it? This is the question that every patriotic son, that every patriotic daughter of South Sudan must responsibly answer tonight or this morning and this afternoon. Thank you, John Cole. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Ustaz Dengdid Ayok, for all this elaboration on the security situation in the country. Now, I must say this. 2 years ago, we brought to attention, we brought the issues of the water, of Nile, Jonglei Canal. We brought the issues of the diplomatic ties between Juba and Cairo. We talked about this 2 years ago, and 6 months ago, we talked about how the government of South Sudan actually agreed for dredging and redigging the canal Jonglei, and how the machinery were brought to the country. But some from the government side, they were saying actually that was not true. But we affirm our people that what we are saying here is truth, and we will prove whoever is not accepting this wrong. Now the machinery, they are in the country, and the issue of dredging started in the country. A week ago, a panel of experts, and I really appreciate all of them, and I congratulate them for standing, with the people of South Sudan. Ala Rasum, Dr. Professor Taj, and Dr. Akej, and Ustaz Majok, for standing up. Now, I must ask you this question. Ustaz Dengdit, what is your take on the question of dredging? Okay, President Salva Kiir had ordered the halting of all the planet dredging activities until feasibility studies are carried out and the possible environmental impact are assessed. What do you think would be the outcome of the feasibility studies? And will the government abide by them in case if there are negative outcome came out from that toward them. We are all aware of the national dialogue that President Kiir initiated, and he said he would be abide by the results. We are aware what happened at the end of the day. But I want you to give us your take on this. Please, the microphone is yours.
Thank you very much, Junko, for bringing up this issue. And thank you for giving us the background that we have been very vigilant on this issue of the Nile waters, and we have been very vocal talking to the people of South Sudan since the year 2020. And we have predicted this, that the Jonglei Canal is going to be dig once again, and that the government of the Republic of South Sudan is going to allow this. Today, this one has become a reality. And now the people of South Sudan are awakened by this reality. How did the people of South Sudan came to be aware? You know, when the equipment were sent from the North Valley throughout to Sudan, and from Sudan to South Sudan, and then to Unity State and to Bahar al-Ghazal. And when this was seen by the people of South Sudan, they became discontent and they were not happy. And therefore, what we predicted 2 years ago became a reality. And so the people of South Sudan stood up and they spoke about this. Renowned and eminent personalities of our country stood up and spoke about this. You have already mentioned their name. We have Professor Jonah Cage, who is the Vice Chancellor of Juba University. And we have Dr. Majok, I think that is Majok Dane, who is an expert on environmental issues. People like Nial Tik Mamir and Professor Taj Al-Khazin and others were able to stand up and talk to the people of South Sudan about the environmental impact that would result as a dredging from the dredging of the Nam River and the Bahar al-Ghazal, River, or what you call the Ju River in Bahar al-Ghazal region. And so, within a short span of time, there was public awareness to the people of South Sudan. And I remember 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 5 or 6 weeks ago, you brought Dr. Peter Biarajak on your show, and he gave full details and very clear details to the people of South Sudan on the issue of dredging. And good enough, it was done in English, it was done in Dinka, it was done in Nuer, and the people of South Sudan were able to get the public awareness that they needed on the issue of dredging of our rivers, and they got the message. And within a very short span of time, we have also seen the Vice Chancellor of Juba University making public consultation in Juba University. It was done on the 8th of July, a day before our Independent Day, and many people turned out and they were carrying placards rejecting the dredging program, the dredging project to be implemented in our country. And a great deal of debate has been going on between the public in South Sudan, between the citizens and their government. All the media houses, all the activists on social media have been rejecting this. And as a result, the government was trying to justify the issue of dredging and you all remember what the Vice President Wani Iga said when he said that if we don't dredge our rivers, they will turn into bushes or forests, which I consider to be a statement that has no meaning, and it should have not come from a highly respected or from a man in high position like him. And you have also heard the first Vice President trying to convince the people, also the Minister of Information, Honorable Michael McQuay, trying to convince the public, but in vain. And you have seen the 5 days consultation, which was done in Juba, in the Freedom Hall, in which Taj al-Khazin spoke and others spoke. And the government was trying to dodge the people through the Vice President and the Minister of Information, like saying that they are not accepting the recommendation from the expert, and that they are not supposed to be part of public consultation on this, that the recommendation should have been forwarded to them in the cabinet, and then they would go and discuss them. Plus the fact that this issue was approved by the cabinet, and a memorandum of understanding, which is now being circulated on social media, was signed between the government of Arab Republic of Egypt and the government of the Republic of South Sudan. And the people of South Sudan also should remember that numerous agreements were signed in November 2014 on the Nile waters. And so this memorandum of understanding is not the first document to be signed by our government and the government of Egypt. There are numerous agreements which were signed by both countries. And so what I want to say is this: within a very short span of time, the public in South Sudan was able to understand what was going on, and we have seen people standing up, including government supporters, by the way. The government supporters did not like this, and they stood up. You can look like somebody like Professor Akay, who is the Vice Chancellor of University of Juba, and you know that University of Juba is a public university institution under the government of South Sudan. It is being run by the Ministry of Science, Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Technology, and the heads of public universities are appointed by the President of the Republic himself. So John Akay stood up, those of Majogden stood up, those of Nial Tit Mamir and many others stood up, and also Taj al-Khazin stood up voluntarily, although he is not a South Sudanese national, but he is an expert on the Nile waters. They stood up and they were able to make the people of South Sudan understand the negative impact that could result from this program or this project of dredging. And as a result, the people of South Sudan are now united, and we have heard our artists composing songs. When I was watching your live show at the beginning, I saw you playing a song, which was about the Nile waters. And so within a very short time, the people of South Sudan were able to be aware of what was going on, and they expressed their views and they rejected this program. And so on our Independent Day, the president announced stopping all the planned dredging activities until feasibility studies are carried out, so that any environmental impact resulting from the program of dredging are assessed before the dredging is executed or implemented. And so you can see how powerful the people of South Sudan are. They were able to force their government within a short period of time, and the government was able to change or to stop the planned dredging. Now, this is all well known to the public, that the president has directed that all the planned dredging activities should be stopped until feasibility studies are carried out and any possible environmental impact is assessed. But the question is, what next? The question you have asked, what if these feasibility studies results come out as negative? Will the government of the Republic of South Sudan abide by the results of those feasibility studies? That's the question.
Yes.
Well, for me, I would say that it is hard to trust the government of the Republic of South Sudan on numerous occasions. Now, you have mentioned one example earlier why the government of South Sudan cannot be trusted. You gave us the example of the national dialogue in which the president said that I would abide by whatever the people of South Sudan would say.
Correct.
And when the results were out and the people of South Sudan spoke, and they spoke very clearly, they said that, Mr. President and your vice president, you have to step aside. A new leader has to be elected by the parliament to prepare the country for free and fair election. The president rejected the voice of the people of South Sudan. Can he be trusted? Is he a man of his own word? I want you to answer, those who are listening to me on Clubhouse and on the live video show on Facebook. Another example, during the time President Salva Kiir Mayardis was a president of the regional government of Southern Sudan. Let's go back to 2010.
Yes.
When he was campaigning to be elected by the people of South Sudan. He came up full of so many promises, so many programs, developmental program for the people of South Sudan. And he was going to every state telling the people of South Sudan that if you elect me, I would do 1, 2, 3. And then going to Unity State, elect me and I would do 1, 3. To Jonglei State, elect me, my people, and I would do 1, 2, 3. Going to Harab, going to Rumbek, going to Anzara, going to Turi, going everywhere.
Yes.
Telling the people of South Sudan that you elect me as your president and I would do 1, 2, 3. Soon after he was elected, none of those promises were fulfilled by the president for the people of South Sudan. Put this one down. Let's go back to the early days of the liberation struggle. How many promises did our leaders make during the liberation struggle? The promises of the liberation struggle today are not fulfilled. And the people of South Sudan have been patiently waiting to see these leaders, to see these liberators, to see these people in the high position in the country fulfilling their promises, but none of their promises is fulfilled. And so it is hard to trust President Salva Kiir Mayardit. It is hard to trust the government of the Republic of South Sudan because they say one thing to the people, and when people believe them, they don't do what they tell the people of South Sudan. And so I find it hard that the president would abide by his words that the feasibility studies have to be carried out so that the environmentalists could assess the possible environmental impact and that they would abide by the outcome of those feasibility studies. It is hard for me to believe this. And if the results later on come out, be they positive or negative, I doubt that they would do this. And we know from now that the results are going to be negative. We are there and we are waiting for the feasibility studies results, and we shall see. We shall see this. It is very clear that the government of the Republic of South Sudan is involved into scandals of signing secret deals on the Nile waters with governments in the region with us without consulting the people of South Sudan first. So this is a very big mistake committed by the President of the Republic or by the government of the Republic of South Sudan to be correct. So This is what I can say. But we praise our people. We acclaim our people. We commend our people for their bold stand to reject this project. We acclaim all our experts for standing up to reject something that does not serve our national interests. First, we appreciate them for doing that, and we encourage them to go on doing this thing. And as I speak here, Mr. Jonko and the listeners on Clubhouse and on Facebook Live, I can confidently say that we are in one trench as the people of South Sudan. And we are in one trench as the people of South Sudan with regard to the issue of dredging. And so, when people stand together, no government on earth can disperse them. No government on earth can ignore their voice. And our voice was heard. But that is not the end. The game is not yet over. We have to gather our act together and follow the issue of feasibility study and see the end of the outcome of those feasibility study, whether the government would implement them or not, which I doubt right from now. Prove me right then when the government reject them. Back to you, Jonko. I will come back to say a lot later on this.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ustaz Dengdit Ayok, for answering the question and enlightening people of South Sudan with the facts. As I said from the beginning, and we have no doubt what we have said before, because we don't say it without any research, without any observing, without knowing what this government has done and what they intend to do for the last, I should say, 12, 13, 14, since we were a regional, not a republic. So if there is anyone still out there have a doubt in what we have been saying, you should have answered by now. You should have answered by now. But this is the time, though, for us to put our rank together to rescue this country. And anyone can play that role. You can play that role, I can play that role, because time has come. They have lied for a very long time. Remember what Dr. John Garang have said, our founding father, that when there is no medicine, when there is no hospital, when there is no, and know this and know that and know that, there will be a time for people to run out of patience, to drive you to the sea. Even if there is no sea here, they will find sea to drive you to the sea. And this is the time, this is the moment to drive the authoritarian, the dictatorial regime in Juba to the sea, because they have killed you, they have jailed you, they have made you go to refuge. In a country that you fought for, in a country that you contribute your chicken, your cows, your dura sorghum, your son, the country that you sacrifice. They have done it and they keep doing it. They sell oil, they sell land, they sell birds, and now they are selling the source of your life, the water, without consulting you, lying to you. But I'm glad people of South Sudan are coming to their senses and they are realizing we have given enough. But enough is enough. Time has come to wake up and say no. No more sleeping. We continue. Ustaz Dengdit Ayok. And thank you one more time for coming to this program. Now, my next question. President Salva Kiir said in the Holy Mass organized at Dr. John Garang Memorial Ground in Juba on Friday, July 8, 2022. that the peace deal was being implemented with difficulties, arguing that there was no war in South Sudan, affirming that there is peace in the country. Imagine affirming that there is peace in the country. Ustaz Dengdi Ayok, how do you evaluate the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement? Is the peace agreement or agreement being really implemented? Do we have peace and stability in the country as alleged by President Salva Kiir? Ustaz Dengdi Ayok, back to you.
Well, thank you very much. That is a very important question. In fact, I believe everybody watched the Holy Mass that you refer to at Dr. John Garang's Memorial Ground on Friday, the 8th, a day before our Independence Day. And that Mass was organized by an envoy of Pope Francis, who arrived in Juba to urge the parties to the revitalized peace agreement to implement the peace agreement. And as you know, Pope Francis was scheduled to be in the country in early July, and his visit was scheduled for South Sudan and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. But unfortunately, that one was changed due to his health situation, which was not stable, and therefore he dispatched his envoy to South Sudan to do what he could not personally come and do. And so people were praying and people were singing the gospel song in that prayer. And when the president was given a chance to talk, he said what you have said. I remember some of his words. He told Pietro that when you go to the Holy Father, tell him that I have found those who were fighting, sitting together, and that there is no war in South Sudan. And then he went on to say, tell him that the peace agreement is being implemented, but with difficulties. Going on to say that, and then he went on to say that we are going on implementing the peace agreement, but there are people who are pulling us behind and they don't want us to go smoothly implementing the peace agreement. Those were the words of the president. And the main point that I have to base my argument here is that the peace deal was being implemented with difficulties. Yes, that is true. There are difficulties in the implementation of the peace agreement, and we were all there. We have seen all those things. On the issue of security arrangement, they put down the cantonments, and then they were training the unified forces, and we all know the story. I don't want to go back to the details because we know that
yes,
the forces that were being trained deserted the training centers.
yes.
Everybody knows this because they were not being given food, they were not being given medical services, and that one was done deliberately to discourage them to
Leave.
to give up.
Yes.
Now the president said that they were going to graduate the unified forces. That's what he said also during that mass. And as we speak here, the SPLM-IO, I think everybody is aware of this, the SPLM-IO has boycotted the parliamentary sessions. They are no longer going to the parliament. So whenever there is a parliamentary session, they are not part of it, and they are not part of the collective decision that is reached in every session in the parliament. And so this one does not make the implementation of peace agreement to be described as a true implementation. Also, the fact that the unified forces are not yet graduated is a sign or is an indication that peace agreement is not implemented. And so this song of peace agreement implementation in Juba is not a sweet song. It is not a song that can attract the ears of the people so that they can listen to it and dance to its tune. If there are people dancing to the tunes of the implementation of peace agreement, I'm not dancing and I will never dance. I have to be very honest and I have to be very clear with you. There is no implementations of the peace agreement. And I said it since last year, that there is no implementation of peace agreement because the government is only in chapter 1. The government is only in chapter 1 of the agreement. Now, they are coming up with the issue of the unified forces nowadays, but it will not be done. It will not be done. And there are other issues which I will disclose later in relation to these questions, but I want us to go systematically.
Yes.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And there are things I would also say later in relation to the first topic we discussed, which is the issue of dredging. I want to say them at the end of this show or at the end of these discussions. I don't want to be rushing and say these things. So, in a nutshell, there is no implementations of peace agreement. We don't have peace in our country because the president said, go and tell the Holy Father that there is no war in South Sudan. How come that there is no war in South Sudan and people are dying in Mugali, people are dying in Numili, people are dying in Meleju, people are dying in Magui, people are dying in Nangala, people are dying in Megri, people are dying in Abiy, between Abiy and Twij Mayardi, people are dying in Ruwing, people are dying in Tony, people are dying everywhere. The country is bleeding continually. And then the president appeared in front of the public to say that we have peace and stability in the country. This is not a true statement, and we are here to challenge it with facts that there is no peace and stability in the country. As we speak here, John Cor and the listeners on the Facebook live show and on Clubhouse, as we speak here, there is no trouble. There is no traveling by land from Juba to Numili. Because if you travel by land from Juba to Numili, you would be definitely attacked. Can we say that we have peace now in South Sudan? Can we say there is peace when a sheep is killed in Numili? Can we say there is?
Go ahead, Ustaz Dengid, you are cutting off. We couldn't hear you.
Is not correct, and it is not expected from someone like him who is in a very high position, the position of a leader of a nation. And so the president should have told his people the facts that we don't have peace in the country. Even in Juba, which is the seat of the government of South Sudan, there is no peace. People can be kidnapped from their houses and killed. People can disappear in Juba. So this song of peace, security, and stability is not resonating with the realities of the situation on the ground. And so, in a nutshell, there is no peace in South Sudan. Back to you, Jonko.
Thank you, Ustaz Dengid Ayok. Thank you very much. Ustaz Dengid, I still have a few questions to ask you in relating to peace agreement. The U.S. administration last week withdraw its financial support for implementation of peace deal What is your comment on that? U.S. administration withdraw their support from peace deal in South Sudan. And we are left only with 7 months to the end of interim period of that peace deal. Let me get your intake of that, and then we'll move on to something. Go ahead.
Well, thank you. That is a very good question. The U.S. administration withdrew its financial support, as you said it, for the implementation of the peace deal. Because the U.S. has been for peace in the Republic of South Sudan. They have been talking to the leaders to make sure that they realize peace in the country, and if they sign peace agreement, they have to implement it. And the U.S. is one of the grantors, one of the supporters of peace in the country. The U.S. has always been giving money to the leaders of South Sudan to help them implement the peace deal. And so whenever they are given money, they don't spend that money on the implementation of peace agreement. They use that money for other things which have no connection with the implementations of peace agreement. And so the U.S. has been talking to them over years on this matter, but they do not listen. And therefore the U.S. withdrew last week because the U.S. government is completely convinced that there is no political will by the parties to the agreement to implement the agreement they have signed. All what they are doing is dodging and buying time and looking for ways of how they can maintain themselves in power for the next period of time. And to be very clear, for the next 5 or 7 years. And we said it earlier that President Kiir is someone who would like to die in power. He does not want to relinquish power to somebody who is capable enough to lead the country and bring peace, restore security for the people of South Sudan. And so the U.S. administration is completely convinced that these people are not for the peace, and that's why they withdrew. They are convinced. And, the U.S. also played a role on the issue of arms embargo.
Yes.
In relation to peace. Because whenever the government of South Sudan is allowed to buy guns, to buy ammunition from the international market, they go and use those guns for killing the people. And when they are brought on the table to sign peace agreement, each party continue to go on to buy guns. And then they sabotage the peace agreement that they signed. That's why the U.S. imposed the arms embargo through the UN Security Council, and now the U.S. has finally withdrew its financial support for the implementation of the agreement. And this is right. Then the U.S. government also said that they stand with the people of South Sudan in their quest for a change, in their request for rejecting whatever they are rejecting, such as the issues of dredging and other issues. And so this one should be very clear to the people of South Sudan. So this is what I can simply say about this this question on the U.S. withdrawing from supporting the implementation to peace agreement.
Thank you, Ustaz Dengdid, and we continue with our program. You viewers of Concerned Citizens South Sudan, go ahead and share it here on the Facebook, and you may also share it on the Clubhouse there, so this voice can get to many South Sudanese who are not aware. Tonight we are conducting this very important discussion. Ustaz Dengdid Ayok, and here with my final question to you. The transitional period is ending in February 2023. It's only 7 months away. Now we are in the middle of July, August, September. October, November, December, January, and February. So it's only left 7 months to the end of interim period of transitional government. So the country remained in politically deadlock, as it was described in the National Dialogue Final Report in November 2020. Apparently, no election, and the government is likely to come up with a proposal of extending the transitional period beyond February 2023. And the country would be endlessly in a transitional period. What should be the way forward, Ustaz Dengi Dayo? I yield microphone to you.
Thank you, Jonkor. In fact, the end of the current government is approaching, and the transitional period is coming to an end in February 2023, as you said. And at the same time, the country remains in what is called political deadlock. And I thank you for using the words of the national dialogue, because it was described as a political deadlock in the final report of the national deadlock. Described as political deadlock in the national dialogue final report in 2020. Now, the government is coming to an end. Those in the government are not sleeping, and they are aware of this fact. And members of the public are also aware of this fact, especially those who are closely following the political developments in the country, the activists, the media houses that are active here on social media, and I see some of them in the room here. They are aware of these things. Now the question is, what is the plan of the government? Of course, the government have no plan other than to extend the transitional period beyond 2023, because they want to guarantee through that extension they stay in power for the next 7 or 10 years. And at the same time, we are not sure whether there would be free, fair, transparent, and credible election in the country. And as we talked earlier about what we call prerequisites for elections, all the prerequisites for elections are not in place because there is no security, there is no stability, half of the population is outside, and there are no freedoms in the country. All the political activists, civil society, when they speak, they are not allowed. A lot of things that are needed for the election, or the political environment which is needed for the election, is not in place. And so the government has one plan, that is to extend the transitional period through the parliament or through whatever proposal that they will bring. And I read in the news 2 days ago that the presidential advisor on security affairs, Tut Galwak, has submitted a proposal to the President of the Republic. And in that proposal, they have a full plan for how the government would remain in place. And according to what came in the news, this issue of extension is part of that plan, among other options. And so this should be rejected by the people of South Sudan. President Kiir as a leader of the country, Riek Machar as first vice president and leader of the country, and these two main parties who have signed the revitalized peace agreement have long lost the political will to implement the very agreement they have signed. And so they are holding our country as a hostage. And when they hold the country as a hostage, there is no future. There is no a bright future that is soon expected for this country. And so these people have become an obstacles in front of the progress of South Sudan as a nation. And so what do we need to do as the people of South Sudan? As the people of South Sudan, we have to say no to them. And we have to see the common ground for all of us. Because these leaders with their parties have long proved that they would not be the good leaders for this country, and that they are not in the best interest of the people of South Sudan. So we have to find a common ground,
yes,
as the people of South Sudan, and come together. And when we come together, we have to be the force that can bring change to our country. So what should be done? The political forces that are calling for change in the country through peaceful means should come together and have a dialogue among themselves as to what should be done. And there are a number of things that can be done. One of these things that can be done is that we have to collectively reject any proposal by this government to remain in power. We have to reject that one, vehemently reject it. We have to reject any proposal for extension of this government, because this government will soon lose what we call
legitimacy.
The legal ground to remain in power. Because what is holding them is the very peace agreement that they have signed. And now that this peace agreement is coming to an end, they would have no any legal ground to continue to run the affairs of the country. And so this is number one. We have to reject any attempt or any proposal that would ensure that this government remain in place. We have also to prepare the ground for any timetables that would prepare the country for free, fair, transparent, and credible elections. And for us to do this, we need to unite the people of South Sudan. And now there are so many issues nowadays uniting the people of South Sudan. The dredging we have talked about earlier is one of the things which is now uniting the people of South Sudan. The issue of economic hardships that the people of South Sudan are facing or have been facing since 2012 until now is also a uniting factor for the people of South Sudan. The issue of insecurity and the rampant killing between communities and citizens killing one another and guns that are in the hands of the people, this is also can be a uniting factor for the people of South Sudan, because we all condemn any killing.
Yes.
Whether it is between the cattle headers and the local communities in Eastern Equatoria, Central Equatoria, or any part of Equatoria, whether it is any communal violence between communities of Jongle, Warab, and as it is now the case between Twitch and Abyei, as it is the case between Unity and Ruling Administrative Area, Jebel Buma and Eastern Equatoria, Jongle, the three communities of Jongle, we all condemn this because we are against killing and the bloodshed of anyone in our country. So these are issues that unite us as the people of South Sudan. And so when the political parties that are seeking for change in the Republic of South Sudan through peaceful means, they can unite the people of South Sudan, and the people of South Sudan can be the driving force to dislodge the government or to topple the government of the Republic of South Sudan. Soon after this government is toppled, then we can put what we call technocratic government in place that can be in power for 2 years or 2 years and a half with a mandate. And one of these mandates would be restoring security, peace, and stability in South Sudan through using the security forces to impose law and order, because South Sudan is in need of peace, security. Peace and security are the priority for any government. This would be the mandate of the technocratic government, which shall be put in place after this government is toppled. This government will also deliver some social services or some basic services to the people within the period of 2 years and a half. Whatever we shall agree on, 2 years and a half or 3 years, but it should not be 3 years. It should be 2 or 2 years and a half.
Yes.
And it should be a lean technocratic government. It should not be a very big government. It should be a lean one, a small one, that would work effectively to restore peace and security, to deliver some basic services within that short time of 2 years or 2 years and a half to the people of South Sudan as its mandate. One of its mandate is also to repatriate back the refugees in the neighboring country after ensuring or after restoring the security and stability in the country. They come back. And one point of this mandate is to prepare the nation for the general elections, where the people of South Sudan would elect a new government that would be a responsible government, a government that would chart a way forward for the people of South Sudan to continue to maintain peace and security, to unite the people of South Sudan, and to bring the nation together and to deliver services to the people, and come up with a number of other things. So this can be done by the political forces that call for change in the Republic of South Sudan through peaceful means. We can come together and we can do this. South Sudan is ripen for change. I want to assure all of you that the country is ripen for change. The ground is fertile for change.
Yes.
Only we have to move and unite the people of South Sudan and throw away this government, this irresponsible government, the government that has sold out our resources, the government that has sold us, the people of South Sudan. Why should we be sold out and we are a people and we fought for this country? Our fathers, our uncles, our brothers, our mothers, our sisters died for the redemption of this country. And then we have some irresponsible guys who were part of the war of liberation, and they have forgotten all the objective they have been fighting for, and they have turned their back against the nation. They have to go. This is the way forward, Brother Jonko. It has to be done. It is possible. It can be done. This is what can deliver the country from the current situations. This is what can bring the people of South Sudan together and put an end to this hatred that has spread among us, to this disunity, to this injustice that is prevailing in the country, to the massacres that are happening all around the country. The country would collapse if we don't come together and do this. So together we can do it. Back to you, Mr. Jonko.
Ustaz Dengir Ayok, indeed, this is the time, as I said from the beginning, if there is anyone still have a doubt, if there is anyone still a little belief in Salva Kiir and in Salva Kiir regime, they should think twice. They should think and they should reassess. Just personal reassessment. They should check themselves. Am I right? Why are I supporting this thing? What they have done? since 2006 all the way to 2022. Lies after lies after lies after lies, killing after killing after killing after killing, looting after looting, corruptions, violence. What else? Selling land, selling birds, selling oil in advance, selling the future, and now selling the water. And tomorrow, we'll be selling people too. What else left? Nothing. And they have been doing this for quite some times. One thing you need to understand, my countrymen and countrywomen, when a human being have a conflict with himself, when someone has a conflict with himself, he's likely to have a conflict with you. Because الإنسان ما راضي بنفسه. He has a conflict with himself actually. He is not acknowledging that he is an elder. He can be wise. He can take care of young. He can take care of family. He can take care of country. He can take care of region. That person has a conflict with himself. When an elderly say that, what is my incentive? What is my incentive? When an elder, when a president, when someone who is in charge, when a manager don't think about his people and he think about himself, that's the red flag. It shows you he does not care and he will not care. And that we have been seeing for all these years. These are characteristics we have seen in President Salva Kiir for a very long time. And we talk about it. And we have been told that some people sitting in the West saying untrue thing. But tonight, if you go back and get all recollection, all this since 2011, 2012, 2013, creating war, talking about Russia, going to Addis Ababa, going to Rome, kiss the foot, going to Khartoum, bringing Riek Machar from South Africa, saying this is our peace. Nobody forced us. We are going to implement it. And we said, no, it was a lie. And we knew it from the beginning. I'm not Jesus. I'm not Gundeng. We were not. But you don't have to be a genius to know if somebody is lying to you. To know if somebody is telling the truth or not. You don't have to be genius. It's a common sense. And you people of South Sudan have a common sense. And that's why you fought the common enemy for 22 years. That's why we marched together, we walked together, and we fought. So you can decency, you can have a life. You can be free, and you can be a first-class citizen. And you don't have to be in refuge again. You don't have to run to Uganda. You don't have to run to Khartoum. You don't have to run to Ethiopia. Have you forgotten that? And your own brother, your own uncle have rejected the core values, what we have been fighting for, and turn his back on you. You, the one supported yesterday. You, the one that stood and said, no, I cannot be a slave in my own country. But now you have been a slave. You have been. And they continue to do so. And they continue to do so. You have been dying. Children have been dying. Women, elderly. And they did not care. And they continue not to care. Why? Because I said people who have self-interest, people who have self-conflict with themselves. Because when you have a conflict with yourself, you are not good for society, and you are not good for your neighbor, and you are not good for your brothers, and you are not good for your sister, and you are not good even for your family. Because what you see is a problem. What you see is that person, if he is here, no, everything is for me. You see yourself. You are all conflict. And that's what we have in our president. That's what we have in his government. They don't see this country is good for all. It's good for everybody. They don't see that. They see themselves first and last. You die, he die, they die. It's not my problem. أنا بقردن نفسي بالجيش بتاعي ده وانتوا تشاكلوا اوكي لما نزول بعدين يهزموا ويلا يجري والبيجين بعد كده ما يقولوا راجل. These are his words. 2017 he stood talked there, said, what is my incentive? Signing peace agreement and resigning. Same person, 2016, December 14, 2016, he stood in National Legislative Assembly and said, national dialogue is the only issues. Let's do this. National dialogue came out and have a recommendation that if South Sudan has to move forward, if South Sudan has to see light, then President Salva Kiir, Dr. Riek Machar, they have to exit political life. But when he saw that, President saw that, he said that he must exit. He took that and put it in a drawer, cut off his jury, file closed, and nobody talk about it anymore. We were right from the beginning that he wanted to buy time until he died in power. And he continued to do so. But what else do you want to believe? Do you want this country to be sold completely? He had proven actually he's not there for you. He doesn't care. He does not care. There is no way the decision can be made without president. He's the one that making all these things, creating conflict, creating war, allowing looting, and he continue. So this is the time for rescue. If you have your differences, this is the time we can put our differences aside. And we have said this numerous times, because time has come for you to say, you know what, it is enough. We have suffered, and we don't want our children and children to suffer. It need to be rescued. Ustaz Dengdit has spoken, and he said what needed to be done for the time coming. We must reject any extension, because they believe in extension. They want to extend so they can remain in power. Because if there is a credible election, and if the census is done, okay, in the country, they will not win. In a fair election, they will not win. The only thing is to trick you and remain in power through extension. And that's why they did not implement peace agreement since they won. Because if they do, what else? This peace agreement will make them leave the power. That's why it has to die. And we said it since day one, that they are not going to implement this peace agreement, and they will not implement peace agreement. And we said it even to Dr. Riek when he was rushing to Juba, that you will see there will be nothing. We proved them right again. We proved them wrong again. And we are right over and over again. Over again. Time has come. We must reject any sort of extension. And this is what they are working right now. In 2015, do you remember? The Nihayab that Salam Addis Ababa, they make an extension by giving the National Legislative Assembly members money. You remember $18 million? They were distributed and they extended it. And then that term period ended in 2018. And then they rushed to Khartoum, sign peace deal so they can be legitimate. And now they did not implement that. And now they want to extend another one. See, so they remain in power. They believe only in being in power until they die in power. That's the only thing. So, إخوة وأخوات, هان الأوان. هان الأوان. الوقت جاء. وقت جاء. الكلام اللي نحن بنقوله ما هزار. الكلام اللي نقوله ده ما عبثا. الكلام اللي نقوله ده ما عشان بس we wanted to talk. We wanted to challenge people. No, we talk. We want to challenge because this is our country that we are proud of. And that we want to see our relatives happy. They live with decency, like human beings. They need to be treated like human beings. لأن البلد ده لما نيجي فيه ناس أقوياء ناس إنه مقول ناسيا is going to be good country for you and for others. Even for them, it's going to be good. But the history will not forgive them. Will not forgive.
Hello, Junker.
I want to give Ustaz Dengdit last word before we come to conclusion. Ustaz Dengdit, I want to give you the last word, please. before we move on here to conclusion, because it looked like Moses is not here. Fana Derek, to conclude, last word before I move on here. Go ahead, Mr. Dengida.
Yeah, I would like to say the following. You can mute yourself because there is an echo.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to say the following before I say my last message.
Go ahead.
I have been following the comments at the back channel here on Clubhouse, and there are some concern expressed in the comment. One of this concern is that somebody said, feed your audience with facts.
Go ahead.
And then he went on to say what happened in 2010 was not an election. In fact, that is a very good message that we should feed the audience with facts. And when I was talking about the 2010 election, when we were in the region in
Deng, did you are cutting off for some reason?
Sudan, I did it briefly because I was giving an example. I didn't want to go into the details. And those of you who are listening either on, as an example, and the point I was interested in as an example is the point of promises which were made, the manifesto which was written by the president. And so there is no dispute about this. And there is no point whereby somebody can come and say that, please, you feed your audience with facts. I'm not lying to anyone, and I don't have any intention. No, we are on the mission of informing the people so that they know what is going on in their country. And they are also following the situation. They are monitoring the situation on the ground, and they know what is happening. So that is a clarification to that brother who came up with this. Brother Jonkor, before you close your studio on the Facebook live show, we have some personalities in the room here with us. Maybe they would like to have some words, some comments, and we have people who also say that they would like to have questions. So I would give Rajab Mohandis a chance to say something, because he wrote a comment there that he liked the recommendation we made. Maybe he would like to have a say. So we will give him a chance to say it. I will bring him up. I sent him the invitation as a speaker, so he should come up to have a say. Rajab, you will come up. Now, my last word is a message to all South Sudanese. Now that we are coming together as the people of South Sudan, and we are now being united by the current developments, let us have one voice. And that one voice must be a voice for change. We don't know you as a government supporter or an opposition. No. It is not longer an issue of government supporter or opposition. It is now an issue of South Sudanese coming to it is your right, because this is my message to all South Sudanese. Let us stand together change in our country, because we have suffered in the hand of the very people who were part of the liberation, and they did not honor the people they liberated the country for, and therefore together. SPLM it's not the first or the last political movement in the country that frames the country, that can lead the country better. One of them, why not, to all of you, and we appreciate the great patriotism shown by all South Sudan, regardless of the political affiliation, all standing together now as one people. We wanted, this is what we wanted. We want to see our people coming and voice, saying one thing, and walk together. For we need a technocratic government in place, topple this government, and that technocratic government will have a mandate to restore peace and security, bring back our people, and then prepare the country for elections. And then we parties who would like, we would contest in those elections. And those who would the next government. This is what we want to do now. We have to build and work together. So that is my final word. I will now give the floor. We have to civil society and a member of People's Coalition for Civil Action. Mr. Rajab, you are highly welcome to have your say. Then some people here in the room say they want to have questions. John Core may put off the live after Rajab, and then I will continue with the House to discuss with them before I finally close it here also. So Rajab, you have 10 or
indeed
15 minutes to have a word. Thank you.
Indeed. Go ahead, Ustaz Rajab Mohandes.
Okay, good. Thank you very much, brothers Deng Dit and John Kur. It has been a while since we last shared a platform like this. I just came across this platform right now, and I listened to the conversations, and they are very encouraging on the situation that we face in our country. We are all aware that we have a serious political impasse at the moment, and that the agreement that was signed in 2018 has not been implemented fully or in a manner that would realize the key milestones that the parties agreed on. We were part of the peace process as civil society, and we contributed immensely to the text of the agreement. The recommendations that we made were the same things that you have been outlining here, that the country at that point of the signing of the agreement needed a lean technocratic government with a specific mandate to restore stability and address the issues of displacement internally and the refugees, and prepare for a number of things, including census and elections and all this. Now, the very aspect of this agreement, the key objective of restoring what the agreement says, if you read in Article 1.2, that says restore permanent and sustainable peace, security and stability in the country, has not been adequately realized. And most of the other things have not been also achieved. And we are rapidly coming to the end of the transitional period. And if you look at what the agreement was supposed to address in terms of the economy, in terms of the humanitarian situation, institutional reforms, most of these things still remain at light. In fact, as we speak today, almost 4 years into the implementation, they are still struggling with pre-transitional period activities, things that were supposed to have been accomplished within the first 8 months of the signing of the peace agreement. And so we have also listened to to the leaders, and the president has repeatedly said that the agreement was designed not to be implemented. And on that note, then it becomes obvious that if that is the case, then we might need a new arrangement that could be implementable. But obviously, the agreement is implementable if people wanted to implement it. But here is the thing. As the transitional period rapidly comes to an end, we need a clear assessment of the whole process and the situation in the country as citizens, and to agree on a roadmap as you outlined. What you outlined actually provide a very good way forward for the country, that we need to have consensus on the situation and redefine how we move forward together as a country. Those were things that we have been recommending all along as civil society. But of course, the political arrangement is such that the parties are in serious rivalry and fighting themselves instead of reconciling among themselves and by extension reconciling the people of South Sudan. And because of this unhealthy competition among themselves, they are unable to really draw consensus on, or reach consensus on how to move forward with the implementation of the agreement. Let's assume that they are right, that the agreement was imposed on them and it was terribly bad. The president initiated a process of the national dialogue that took 4 years and involved South Sudanese across the country and also in refugee settlements around the world. And the diaspora community also had the opportunity to contribute to the process, especially during the national dialogue conferences. Now, during that process, for those of you who followed, for the 4 years of the national dialogue, it became almost a national policy for political leaders in all their statements to say the national dialogue was the only way out for South Sudan.
Yes.
It was a homegrown solution. It involved the people. And indeed, it was a homegrown solution, and people spoke out. And where are we with the national dialogue? It is now almost a criminal case to actually say the national dialogue outcomes should be implemented. Now, these are major contradictions and confusions that keep us in the situation where we are. If you now look at progress made since the agreement was signed, by the time the agreement was signed, for example, the exchange rate of our national currency was around 22 pounds for a dollar. As we speak today, it is over 400, it's over 550, approaching $600 pounds for a dollar. You can see how much we have fallen backwards instead of actually using the agreement to strengthen the economy, which of course is largely a victim of the political situation. If you look at the humanitarian situation, by the time the agreement was signed, we had 7 million people in need of humanitarian assistance. As we speak today, the agreement was, of course, ideally, Chapter 3 of the agreement was meant to address the humanitarian crisis. Of course, together with the other chapters, addressing security, addressing the political differences, and so forth, eventually we would have the humanitarian situation addressed through Chapter 3 of the peace agreement. Now, from 7 million people in need of humanitarian assistance in 2018, September, when the agreement was signed, today as we speak, we have 8.9 million people in need of humanitarian assistance, and the number continues to increase. So if you go on to see the indicators, and that we were supposed to achieve, the milestones that we were supposed to achieve, we have actually performed a lot worse than when we were by the time the agreement was signed. And when we look into the future, based on the current arrangement, there is no clear hope that the situation will improve, because the political deadlock among these political leaders is real. And they come together only when there's pressure and they want to find a way to project an image that they are doing something. But in reality, they are not working together. Yesterday or the day before yesterday, I saw a comment from the deputy chair of the IO, deputy chair of the first deputy speaker, who is an IO of a senior member, that the national security has gone around the city in Juba, shutting down all businesses that are involved in printing flyers or T-shirts for the IO. Now, this is a clear indication. If these guys cannot work together in the same city and they work against each other, then it makes it difficult for them to unite the rest of us across the country. And therefore, these unfortunate killings happening in different parts of the country doesn't come as a surprise. Now, what does an extension mean? An extension means extending this political deadlock, extending this increasing humanitarian crisis, extending this increasing violence across the country. The international community loves to refer to it as subnational violence, to claim that the agreement is actually working, the security arrangement is working, the permanent ceasefire is working, but whatever is happening at the subnational level or local level. There is no subnational citizen in South Sudan. When there is a conflict in any part of the country, it's a national problem. The agreement and the government were supposed to provide an environment that would keep citizens safe, protected against all harm and all that. But as long as our people die, the issue of the permanent ceasefire, which was supposed to address the whole transitional arrangement objectives, is being missed. And so we don't believe, I personally don't believe that these are subnational issues. These are complete national issues manifesting themselves in different parts of the country, and they need to be addressed. So an extension would mean extending these killings and fragmentation of the country and all these challenges. And it is important for us as South Sudanese leaders, citizens, to demand of the political leaders that our country cannot continue like this. We have lost sovereignty. As you know, any country, any body from outside can cook out what they want in their own interest. They just come and push it on us. And because of the vulnerability of our political system at the moment, or the political leaders, they simply accept for purposes of maintaining themselves in power or getting economic benefits out of some of this. And so the future is not good for all of us. And this applies to everyone. And therefore, we need to come together again and say, first of all, why did we sacrifice for decades and lost millions along the way to only come and have the country we have the way it is now, which is not the dream of everyone. I remember a comment from one of our senior political leaders when people were complaining and saying, no, things were not going on well with South Sudan, there's too much violence, we were among the most fragile countries in the world. He got up and said, listen, and this is a vice president, this is not unique to South Sudan. And he pointed Somalia as an example, Central Africa as an example. In other words, we spent decades of our time and energy and resources and lives in the liberation struggle to have Somalia or Central Africa as our model. And that is completely unacceptable. So I agree with you and Brother Dengdit and John Kur in the suggestions that you are making. First, that we all need to come together as the people of South Sudan. We need to agree on how we move forward. The transitional period, extension of the transitional period is completely now unacceptable because it's simply this extension of the untenable status quo that we have. And this is not like we are against the leaders, we are against the situation in the country, and the leaders must listen to these voices. Because if we do not change this situation, if we do not accept to work together to fix this situation will fix all of us. In other words, it is not good for everyone. And I want to leave it here and thank you very much for these constructive conversations. These conversations should have been taking place on our land in South Sudan, but the space doesn't exist. And so now I see a lot of very healthy conversations among South Sudanese taking place on the social media, especially in the clubhouses. Very, very healthy and constructive conversations. And these conversations need to find ways out to the political leaders and to inform our decisions, collective decisions on the way forward for our country. Thank you.
Stas Rajab Muhandis, phenomenal. Thank you very, very much. And actually, I am so impressed the way you put it. The national dialogue, sometimes last year, sometimes 2 years ago, it became like a national policy when our lawmakers and others, senior politicians were saying national dialogue is the only way forward. And when the result came out, nobody seemed to be talking about it. You're right. Thank you so much. And actually, you put it correctly. Any extension that an extension of suffering, extension of killing, extension of looting, extension of people going to refuge, extension of crying, and crisis more and over and over. We all collectively should reject that. And yes, an interim period that will be effective, as Dengdi has put it, that will be responsible for security, stability, bring people back home, and prepare the country for the next election and census so we can have a country. Now we don't have a country. The country has been stolen, from us. So thank you so much, Ustaz Raja Muhandis. And this conversation will continue. We will not stop here. This is the beginning. And actually, I can see that people of South Sudan are awakening now. This is a new beginning for South Sudanese to realize that the country needs to be rescued. The country needs to be rescued. And those who actually are not pleased with the facts are the one that coming here and make a distraction comment because they are comfortably with what they are getting from their uncles and from their relative in this fragile government. That's why they are coming. But you know what? We are here. We are here to challenge them as well because wrong is wrong and right is right. And you cannot bring wrong to wrong and make it right. It will not happen. And people of South Sudan are now awakened. Ustaz Dengdi Ayok, I want to give you the last word. Ustaz Dengdi Ayok. So I can go ahead and close here and then we move back to Clubhouse. Ustaz Dengdi, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Brother Jonkur. And thank you very much.
I apologize. This is shouldn't happen.
Point you have added to the conversation. This is superb. This is amazing. And I do profoundly appreciate it. Now, Jonkur, we will continue here on Clubhouse because there are some people who would like to discuss and have questions with us. So we'll give them a chance to ask their questions. And if you want to put the live show off on Facebook, you can go on to do that. And then we continue here on Facebook. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Ustaz Dengdi, I will go ahead and conclude here on the Facebook. And I would like to say thank you for those who tune in tonight to watch this very special episode of Concerned Citizen of South Sudan. It has been a long time, but as I say from the beginning, when someone in conflict with himself, you are not going to fix that person. The only way, you rather stay away from him, or if he's sitting on your neck, you got to push him away. And this is what we need to do collectively as a citizen of South Sudan right now, because our country has suffered enough, and this is the time for rescue. And if they are not listening, there is no way we can accept any extension. There is no way. Ustaz Raja Muhandis has put it clearly. We don't need an extension of suffering, of killing, of looting, of crisis. We don't want that. We must reject that, and we need to get them out of our life. And if they are not listening, if they are not giving this government to the citizen of South Sudan, and then people of South Sudan must rise up, and must rise up big with an uprising and send them to the garbage bin. That's the only option for them. And they have to be brought to the justice. Thank you so much for watching, viewers of Concerned Citizen of South Sudan. Until we meet again next week, thank you and have a lovely night. Now we may continue in Clubhouse with Ustaz Dengdi Ayok and others, friends who join us here. Thank you so much and have a good night. Ustaz Dengit, you may continue from there.